Good evening, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show host, live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports this evening. My name is Big Reg. I'm joined in the studio from my man G3. J3, what's up, J3?
What's up?
Man, it's been a minute since I had you in studio, man. Glad to have you back in Maryland, and definitely glad to have you live and in the flesh.
Absolutely.
I got my man Big Ed back. He back on location this week. Can't wait to get him back in the studio. What's up, Ed?
It's good to see the dynamic duo hanging out down there. and you guys don't understand how good it is to see Professor J.
Yeah.
Without him around, I feel naked.
Absolutely.
Anyway, howdy, everybody. Let's get down to business.
And Professor, you heard the lead up. As Ed said, we appreciate you, my brother, doing everything behind the scenes most of the time. We get to have you for the whole show this week.
Yeah.
What's going on, Professor?
Man, what's up, fellas? As always, I am psyched to be a part of the crew. So we're going to keep this thing going. Let's get started. Hit it.
Let's roll. So tonight we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. We got to do some NFL news, and there is some news that we got to talk about. Got to update you on the NHL playoffs. Got some other topics that caught our attention. Of course, the Professor's post takes and our final post of the evening. As always, we appreciate you all tuning in. So sit back, relax, enjoy Post on the Positional Sports Talk Show. So let's jump right into the NBA. And last week we had our special show, so we got a little bit into the different sports, but we're going to get into it. Eastern Conference. Philadelphia 76ers did what they're supposed to do, finished off the Wizards in 5 games, even with your man Joel Embiid going down in game 4 with the slight meniscus tear in his right knee. So, I mean, we all expected that. We expected them to sweep them, so congratulations. The Wizards got one. They got to figure out what their future looks like. Philly moves on, but the issue is going to be Joel Embiid and that knee tear. Brooklyn Nets. The Celtics, it went from bad to worse with the Celtics. They were already down Jaylen Brown for the series. And then Kemba goes down again and Robert Williams in game 4 and game 5. That was a wrap. Let's move on. What Milwaukee did to Miami?
Payback.
Yeah, that was payback from the bubble.
Yep.
That was payback from the bubble. And it looked like, our boy Chris Middleton was, showing himself, to be thing. But we're going to talk about him in a second.
Yeah, thanks.
We got to talk about him.
But the series of the first round in the Eastern Conference, the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks.
The who? The Knickerbockers?
Trae Young made his playoff debut, and he was acting like he was on Broadway because he put on a show for those people. And I don't know about y'all, but the way he finished that series, taking a bow at Madison Square Garden as the New York Knicks fans was leaving the arena was just classic. Absolutely.
That was classic.
That's how stars are born.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Even Reggie Miller had to give him kudos for that.
Yeah. I mean, from all the stuff he went through, from being spit on, for them calling him nasty names and all that, he just put on a show. So that leads us to the second round. And let's really start digging into this basketball. Brooklyn Nets, Milwaukee Bucks. This is the series that everybody figured would decide the Eastern Conference champions, especially with Embiid being gimpy with that right knee. The Nets lose James Harden in the first minute of the first game and still destroy Milwaukee.
Because they determined. They determined to win this series. They trying to get it done just like they smoked Miami and go on to the next game.
Your boy Blake Griffin. I literally heard that there's some people out there trying to put together a petition to sue Blake Griffin for a class action because he withheld his services while he was in Detroit.
He did. I told y'all he was faking.
I mean, legitimately, there's somebody trying to put a lawsuit together to try to get money back from Blake Griffin. It
comes a point in time in your career when you just tired of losing and you want to compete. You want to compete on a team that's going to win, and that's what he's doing with Brooklyn. You can't be mad at him.
Oh, I ain't mad at him, but I mean,
but hold on. But you can't praise Milwaukee in the first round for dismantling Miami, for then putting on this two no contest in a row against a undermanned Nets team. Because here's the issue. They reverted back to the same old Bucks. Chris Middleton, and I'm not putting all this on his feet, but Chris Middleton can't outshoot Giannis. I don't care who. Kevin Durant, no one on the New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets team should be able to single-handedly stop the two-time defending MVP.
Defensive Player of the Year.
And Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm saying, like, Chris Middleton shot 20 times. Giannis, I don't even think he might have 15 shots. He cannot have more shots than Giannis. The ball has to go through Giannis.
But his position is shooting guard, so he has to shoot the ball. And unfortunately, it wasn't going down for him in the first half.
Well, technically, okay. If you want to call him a shooting guard, that's a flaw in itself. Not on what you say, but that's a flaw on the coaching staff. Right. But it's the same old. It's the same old thing. Chris Middleton has to be the third to fourth option on Milwaukee's team, and plus, Milwaukee has no bench. I don't know what happened to it. I guess they lost one player, the guy from Villanova, DiCenzo, however you say his name.
DiVincenzo.
But even still, their rotation, they're doing a 6-man rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you add the guy that got hurt from the shooting guard from Villanova, you're still only going to a 7-man rotation.
Sounds like coaching, huh?
I was getting ready to say, look at the coach.
Sounds like coaching, huh? Coach Bud is good enough to win number 1 seeds and number 2 seeds in the regular season. But when you have a team that can lock in on what you do and game plan specifically for you, not just fly into town and have to play you that evening. No, they game plan for you for the next 4 to 7 games. And Coach Bud is getting out-coached. Point blank, period.
But he's getting out-coached by a rookie coach who's never been a coach.
But he's got a real coach sitting beside him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's true. And that's always, oftentimes that is the case. But Brooklyn never played defense the whole year.
They don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to run you out the gym. They're going to literally run you out the gym. As soon as the ball rebounds, they're going down court. And they looking back.
Durant and Griffin playing defense now, that's for sure.
Yeah. Durant is playing defense, and everybody but Kyrie is now actually playing defense on Brooklyn now.
Right.
Kyrie, that ain't in his contract.
You don't need him really to play defense.
Right. If you embarrass him on the other end, he gonna come down and try to do something every now and then. But other than that, that ain't part of his.
Yeah, and right now that's working because he is embarrassing the crap out of him.
Oh my goodness! But I mean, Blake Griffin in Game 1 had 18 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. So Harden goes down, and Blake Griffin say, "I'll be the number 3. I ain't got no problem with that."
Because he won a ring. He wants to compete. So
hey, look,
get a ring.
The Lakers wish Drummond came out with some of that.
Oh, man.
We're going to get to the Lakers in a second. We're going to get to the Lakers. And then you figure, okay, that was Game 1. Maybe Milwaukee let down because they saw Harden go out and they're going to get things right and corrected. What the Nets did to them last night,
Yeah, I didn't expect that. Not at all.
They was up 49 points at one point in that game.
Yeah.
KD personally attacked Giannis all night, and he only played 3 quarters. I mean, he was taking them one-on-one. Come in. I don't care who helping you. I'm going to give it to you. And I heard something this morning on Get Up. Jay Williams said that he had a conversation on air about how Giannis, he was comparing Giannis to similar to KD and all that. And he saw KD later that evening, and KD said, "Don't you ever compare that dude to me in your life."
And he's right.
So he taking it personal. That knee is healed. That Achilles is healed. Giannis got problems because he's going to try to give him 30 every night in 3 quarters and make him play defense. And he's supposed to be the defensive player of the year.
Well, let's talk about Giannis then. What's going on with Giannis then? Because personally, I didn't think he should have had the last 2 MVPs. But I said that on this show. One, yes, last year he shouldn't have had the MVP. But
yeah, not last year.
Right, but
hell, I don't help.
But okay, even if you don't have no help, you got to show up.
Take over. Yeah, you got to be able to take over.
You got to show up.
And you got to hit some free throws. You got to hit free throws.
Oh, that's in his head.
Yeah, that's in his head, big time.
He don't want to see that line.
And Brooklyn is in Middleton's head because Middleton can't hit the side of a barn. He had a great round 1. Look like, okay, Middleton looking like the all-star. Maybe he is a number 2.
Let me down, man.
He's looking like a number 4 or 5 right now. Like he a role player, not a max player that's being paid. So, yeah. Milwaukee got problems. And I don't see any correction because what I hate to say this because I'm a big fan of Drew Holiday. But Kyrie is cooking Holiday. I mean, cooking them.
He's giving it back, but just not enough. He's
and he can't. He can't.
Yeah.
No,
Kyrie just that dude.
Okay,
he's not laying down, but he's scoring. He's just not. It's just not enough.
But can we be honest? Drew's a solid professional basketball player. He's probably above average. But if Kyrie's head and body is right, he's on a different level than Drew. Even though Drew's a solid NBA player, a guard, a great professional, by all indications, a great person. But let's be honest, physically he's not better. Kyrie was the number 1 overall pick for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I give you that. But you got to be able to say he's supposed to be one of the top 15 defensive players in the league, and Kyrie just going around him like he just standing there.
But Big Red, I know we're gonna get to the next game, but that's the same thing they saying about Ben against Atlanta, right? If they cooking, ain't nothing you can do with them.
I feel you. Well, so I think to wrap up our session on this, because the next time I think we talk about Brooklyn, they'll be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm giving them a gentleman's sweep.
Right,
I think Milwaukee and Giannis are going to find one.
I don't see it happening.
But if
I don't see it happening either.
If KD stay in this mode, it could get ugly. So
I mean, he mean mugging going down the field like I'm going down the court like y'all can't even touch me.
Nah, man, they got Kyrie hold up. He injury prone too.
The Milwaukee Bucks, they'll be down Barbados or somewhere down the Caribbean by next week.
Yeah.
And but before we move on, how about Charles Barkley talking about Blake Griffin ain't got nothing left in the tank? I remember when I played a game, I was tired for a week at his age. Shut up, Chuck.
Remember who you talking about. And that's all he's doing is talking. I mean,
that's it.
His time is gone, and he got to say something. Charles Barkley, and don't get me wrong, Charles Barkley was a beast when he was playing.
He was,
but man, listen.
But at the end of his career, he wasn't taking care of his body. Blake Griffin was taking care of his body, and he was preserving his body. He knew that he wasn't winning anything in Detroit, so he wasn't going to do anything stupid to overexert himself because he's been through a bunch of injuries. He was like, okay, I'll collect this check and just get me out of here. I mean, think about it. He gave back $15 million to get up out of there.
Do you blame him?
Do you blame him? He knew.
I've been to Detroit. I give a little something back. I mean, I like Michigan.
I can't say that about that because I got family there.
I do too.
But again, he's already had accolades. It's now time where he wants to get a ring. So he did the right thing.
I feel you. So let's talk about Philly and Atlanta. First of all, I didn't expect Joel Embiid to play in game 1. So when he showed up and said they was going to play and he rang the bell with Triple H, I was like, uh-oh, Philly going to come out and show that they getting ready for Brooklyn. But they forgot to tell the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are playing fearless now.
They ain't scared. Right.
Big fearless. Trae Young, what he did in New York, he has got all them boys, just playing their behinds off of. I mean, John Collins is, if he ain't dunking on somebody, he jumping out hitting 3-pointers. Kevin Huerter coming off the bench, hitting 2, 3, 4 3-pointers.
Maryland.
And Bogdanovich is cold-blooded. You see him shush the Philly crowd.
Yeah, and almost scratched his nose.
Yeah, almost picked his nose. But
don't forget about Capella. Don't forget about Capella.
Oh, yeah.
Get that out of here.
Capella's doing the same thing he was doing in Houston.
That's right. My bad.
All I got to do is pick and roll, and if you come off of me, the ball is going up in the air, and I'm dunking it on your head. But Trae Young's development from the time they fired the coach until now, it's been phenomenal. I mean, he gave him 35 and 10, and he played a sloppy fourth quarter. It could have been worse.
Right. Well, actually, Big Reg, Trae Young was. I mean, since he stepped foot, because him and Luka will always forever be linked because of the trade on draft day. But when he stepped foot in the NBA, he's pretty much been full bore. Now, Nate McMillan, I don't know what he did. Like, I don't know, how he brought that talent. Because if you looked at Atlanta's roster, just on paper, they were talented. Like, talented. And so, Nate McMillan has made a world of difference. See, sometimes coaching changes are for the better.
Excuse me.
Oh,
what'd you say, Wizards?
Yeah.
But anyway, I credit now. Like I said, Trae Young is obviously phenomenal. But whatever Nate McMillan, he pushed the right buttons and got that young team to grow up overnight. He
slowed Trae Young down, told him, "Hey, young fella, you can shoot your bombs, but I can't have you shooting 7 to 10 bombs a game. Let's cut it down to 3 or 5. And you know what? You got shooters around you. If you actually pass them the ball, other than the lobs, but you start penetrating and kicking to these outside shooters and build up their confidence, we can win." And he's proven right. And they actually playing little defense, a little, not a lot.
They're playing enough.
But nobody can stay in front of Trae Young. If you switch and he ends up with a big, he going right around him.
Well, Philly has their point guard is a big. So he can't watch Trae. It's physically impossible for him to watch Trae Young.
Well, he said he asked for the assignment because they didn't put him on till the fourth quarter, as he says, and you see what I did. So I want Trae Young from the beginning. Yeah. Be careful what you ask for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but I was surprised in Joel Embiid's defense to have a bum knee. He did show up.
Oh, he balled out.
Right.
He balled out, and you could see that he couldn't jump and land. He was being very ginger whenever he jumped about not coming down on that right foot full force.
So do you think he's going to finish this series?
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
So they done. If he don't finish the series, they done. Atlanta going to shock him. They going to get him.
I'm sorry. I've had a torn meniscus. All it takes is you to move. You ain't even got to jump. All you got to do is move the wrong way, and you get excruciating pain.
Right.
Much less jumping and running.
Right. And what is he, 7'2"?
Yeah, 7 something, but it's not
7'1", 7'2", 280 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, they risking him really tearing that knee up.
Yeah,
right.
So that series is over with. Yeah.
Next. So y'all think okay? So we got Professor saying Atlanta's gonna win, especially if Embiid doesn't finish.
Absolutely, Atlanta.
You got Atlanta?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Listen.
ATL.
You take if exactly. You need to come on this train right here, partner. Because right now, without Embiid, the game they don't have nobody else.
Wow.
Who else gonna step up?
I mean, Tobias will give you a good game. Or two.
You still got Tobias. You still got Curry. They got 7 to 8 deep.
Okay.
And don't forget they got your boy Superman.
Okay. Exactly.
But hold on. First of all,
that's funny.
Tobias is your team's third. He has to be your team's third best player.
Mm-hmm.
Curry,
when he shows up.
Curry is a spot shooter. He has that roster position because of his father-in-law.
When he's on the floor. Mm-hmm.
So let's be on. And Simmons is a floor general only. He can't shoot. That's not his job.
Not a threat. Exactly.
So if he can't feed the primary scorer Embiid, because Embiid is hurt, there's no other options.
And Lord, don't put him on the line. Don't put him on the foul line.
But he can still break down a team's defense and pitch it. If he's penetrating and pitching out the shooters, they got shooters that can shoot from outside. But so y'all don't think Doc Rivers is going to be able to come up with an answer to this?
Nope.
Oh my goodness!
Y'all
gonna get Doc fired.
Fo.
Oh, y'all trying to get Doc fired in his second job in a year, huh?
No, they ain't gonna fire him.
He never gonna fire him.
He good. Scott Brooks ain't get fired. He ain't gonna get fired.
Exactly.
But they clearly go as far as Embiid can take them. Clearly.
Right. I hear you.
He couldn't help it. His best player got hurt. He can't. That got to count for something. Can't help
I hear you. All right, but let's go ahead and move on to the Western Conference. Again, in the first round, Donovan Mitchell doesn't play game 1. He tells everybody that he was pissed off about it, and then he plays game 2 through 5, and Utah sweeps Memphis. Have a nice day. Nice showing you. John Morant. He real dude.
Oh, yes, sir.
John Morant's a real dude.
He the future.
But they need to get him some help, and they need to get their other young star, make sure he stays healthy because he's been hurt for like a year and a half. Jaren Jackson II. Jaren Jackson Jr. Hey, Sense, I'm sorry, man.
You gotta talk about it. Gotta talk about it.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about it.
Gotta talk about it.
Hey,
night.
Yeah, LeBron just basically, LeBron wrote them dudes off. LeBron acted like he didn't want to be around none of them dudes.
And that's terrible.
I mean,
if you're repping the yellow and gold, you rep the yellow and gold. Don't diss them because they didn't show up.
Hey, yo, have y'all seen the skits people doing about I know Sense don't like that, but them jokes hilarious.
Yeah. LeBron was like, you know what, I'm done. I mean,
can we be honest about this though? Because it was bad. Rob Pelinka has done a horrible job as far as roster building in LA, and we know. And even though they won the championship last year, it has to be attached to it. An asterisk has to be attached to it because of the circumstances that were surrounding the Lakers' victory last year. But LeBron's this is year 3 of LeBron in LA, and he's been hurt every year. He's been in the league 18 years. His body's broke down. He's old.
Right.
He's athletically, he's old. We're not talking about LeBron at 30. We're definitely not talking about LeBron at 25. LeBron can't take a roster filled with Mo Williams to the NBA Finals anymore. He can't.
Yeah.
He needs help.
What LeBron needs And we're going to talk about Phoenix, so don't think we're going to go give Phoenix a little bit of their flowers. But what LeBron needs is AD was paid and signed to be the number one. LeBron needs AD to be the number one through the 82, 72 game series. And then come playoff time, I can ratchet up a little bit more, then we can be 1A, 1B, and we can try to compete. But that means AD needs to start taking his body serious, his offseason serious, and he needs to get on the LeBron James. And what LeBron needs to do, and what the Lakers need to do, is they need to cuss him out and tell him, we paying you damn near $40 million a year. $1 million of that need to go into hiring a chef full-time, hiring a personal trainer full-time, hiring a physio full-time, hiring a massage therapist full-time, and getting on that LeBron James thing so you can last through an 82-game series in the playoffs.
You don't want to.
Hey, Big Red, how about the chatter right now where people saying maybe LeBron needs to follow a page out of the Claus book and do some load management, and maybe AD as well?
Well, he has been doing load management because he's been hurt every year he's been in LA.
Right. Exactly.
But getting back to the Anthony Davis situation, and this goes back to, you got to be careful what you ask for. LeBron wanted AD. Mm-hmm. They literally sold the farm to bring a brittle. I didn't call him soft because he's a professional athlete. He can't be soft and get to that level, but he's a brittle human, meaning that whatever he's doing or not doing with his body needs to change because it's not working.
Yep.
But LeBron wanted that. He don't make no mistake. He told Jeannie Buss, I don't have no proof of this, but I'm sure
you're right.
Was on board with going to selling that team out to get LeBron. I mean to get AD. Yeah, it worked out. They have a championship. So if I sold all that to get one championship, in my mind, even within a 5-year to 6-year period, it's worth it.
It's good. It's a good deal. Absolutely.
But the expectation in LA is not one and dones. It's not, first round and you gone. That's not the expectation in LA. That might be the expectation in
the Clippers, not the Lakers.
Right.
How do they fix it though? Because I think this is going to be an ongoing thing until LeBron hangs it up.
I told you how they fix it.
That goes back to what Big Red was saying. Yeah.
They got to make him invest in his body and get on the LeBron James program.
But do you think it's that simple? He could just be like Ed said. He could just be brittle. It don't matter what he does to his body.
If he hasn't done it already, do you really think he's going to do it?
He's still a young dude. And I think he respects LeBron enough. Because remember, this year he didn't come into the season in shape. He took the whole offseason off.
My point exactly.
So then he don't expect LeBron.
Right.
That goes
my point exactly. Really.
Okay.
But it ain't even about respecting LeBron. It's about respecting yourself. But again, he's a professional athlete. He's reached the high. He's a champion at collegiate level. He's a champion at the NBA level. I'm not disrespecting him. I'm just saying that it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. So let's give Phoenix some roses.
Absolutely.
Chris Paul, even with a bad shoulder, did his thing. He was leading from the bench. The few minutes he got on the floor, and he's got, his young players primed and ready to play playoff basketball. We all knew Devin Booker proved last year in the bubble that he was for real. Mm-hmm. But DeAndre Ayton, I don't know if y'all heard him, but there were whispers that DeAndre Ayton was a bust as the number one pick. Mm-hmm. That he wasn't playing up to his expectations.
Well, you got to consider the two players that got drafted after him are legitimate superstars or right on the cusp of superstardom. You got Luka and you got Trey, who was drafted in that same draft that went below him. So that's who he's being measured against.
So the job Monty Williams is doing, and again, Chris Paul, getting them in the right mindset, that they are balling. And if people aren't taking them serious, they better watch out. And we'll get to the second round. Denver Nuggets took out Portland.
What a series.
Denver's down 2 starters
What a series.
and take out Portland 4-2. Dame Lillard is a bad man, but he's got to start making some real hard decisions. Do you stay in Portland?
Where you gonna go?
He can force his way out.
Oh, it's easy to go.
James Harden did.
Right. Where's he gonna go?
If he wants to move and
New York,
get the championship,
New York.
he could figure out a place to go. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of places that would like to have Damian Lillard.
New York.
Well,
Yeah,
he
he going to a contender. He ain't going to no. He ain't going to the
Dame said
Go
if
from
we
bad
can't
to
beat,
worse.
if we can't beat Denver without their starting point guard, we suck. That's what he said. I didn't.
Oh,
say
absolutely. That's why the coach got fired the next day.
Yeah.
But was it the
Deserving
coach? Was it the coach or was it the roster building again, Big Reg? You see what I'm saying?
I think it's both.
It's gotta be both.
CJ McCollum can't be your second best player.
Right. He's the number 3. He's a 3. He's a great 3 on a championship team. And he's a great number 2 during the regular season. But come playoff time, when things get tough,
Nowhere to be found.
it's a problem.
But he gets paid like a number 1 or a number 2.
I understand.
But that's just the business of the NBA.
That's just the business of the NBA. You worried about losing a guy, so you overpay some people to keep them because you know you can't. In the NBA, player development is a lost art. Either they come with it or they don't, or they develop it in the offseason. You rarely see players getting better during the season, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Unless you have people on teams like Chris Paul that are actually getting in people's behind, and old veterans don't like it. It works with young teams. When you get an old team and these people set in their ways, they ain't trying to hear Chris Paul in their ear every day.
Yep.
But it works. He helps people get developed. So
That's right. He won a title.
He wants, but he ain't getting.
But let's talk about the man of the hour for Denver.
Joker.
The Joker.
Yep. Really.
Jokic proved to everybody that he was the MVP, and today he was announced that Jokic got the NBA MVP. I mean, I don't know why people was saying was dissing this man. All he did was average almost 30 points, over 12 rebounds, and 9 assists at the center position.
Beasting.
And led his team to the number 3 position in the West after losing one of their best players.
That's true.
So I mean, so Denver's nice.
They out of it now though.
Not yet. Not yet. We're gonna get to that. Kawhi Leonard decided that he was going that the claw was going to show up in Game 6 and Game 7, and he put on a show. I got to give it to Kawhi Leonard.
The claw.
Yes, sir.
Kawhi Leonard put on a show. He dropped 45 in Game 6, and then was 1 assist away from a triple-double in Game 7, and D'd up Luka in the second half in both of those games. And,
Paul George? No, you didn't, right? Okay.
no, I didn't say Paul George.
Reggie Jackson though. But
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson.
But it should have been Paul George.
Hold on, Big
It
Red.
should have been.
But Reggie Jackson.
Hold on, Big Red.
Look at the stats. Look at the stats.
now
I'm
the
getting on your boy Luka.
The Clippers won the series, but Luka was a one-man band. He didn't shoot less than 50% the series.
What happened to the
it's a team-
unicorn?
It's a team game though.
But
What
hold
happened to the
on.
unicorn?
That's roster building. That's on Mark Cuban.
I agree.
Luka can't do anymore. He cannot do anymore.
Yes, he can.
If
Yes,
you
he can.
tell how
Luka has to get in better shape, just like AD. He has to come in camp in shape, and Luka's got to be able to carry a team in the fourth quarter. If you look at Game 6 and Game 7, Game 6 he had 29 at halftime,
and he's finished with 46.
I understand. He should have finished with 50 or 60.
But
he was on that pace.
But hold on. He's a facilitator. He's the number one facilitator. He's the number one scorer.
Yeah.
Everything goes through Luka. He can't do it by himself.
That's why he got to get better in shape. Because he's got to be able to carry the load. Because unfortunately, he's going to be in that LeBron James, Cleveland Cavs, early Cavaliers situation where
But
he
he was
got carried
playing-
all the way.
But he was playing against Kawhi. Some people argue the best player in the league. We know he's not, but some people argue that. And 2 years ago, you would get into a fist fight if you said he wasn't. So you got Kawhi, you got playoff P. I mean, we know he had his failures in the playoffs, but he's a legitimate all-star. Who else is on the Clippers? You got Rondo. I mean, you got a roster full of talent on one
And
side.
he was cooking all of them in the first half. Look at the stats. The first quarter, he lets himself play itself into the game. The second quarter, he's been thrashing the Clippers.
But he can't do it by
And then
himself. He can't do it by himself.
Sometimes you got to do it by yourself.
Okay.
If you want to be the superstar and an NBA MVP, sometimes you got to just pull the team along with
So
you.
then what's
whoa,
the
whoa, whoa,
whoa.
What's the difference between him and Damon Lillard then? Because Damon Lillard's giving you 56 and they still losing. Now
And
what?
Giannis is not even showing up, and he's a 2-time MVP. So what
Okay.
does Luka got to do to get to that point? Because he's
Right.
already at that point.
That's what I'm saying. It's a team game.
That's right. He's not
You
going to
know
win
what?
a championship like
Time
that.
out. I gotta admit there's something to everybody. I like Luka. Maybe I'm not the best person for this.
No,
We're not saying
I like Luka.
Right.
I like Luka. I think Luka's going to be an eventual multi-time MVP of the NBA. But Luka has to, even though he's just 22, and I know he's still a baby, but he's been a pro since he's been 15.
He still need help.
I'm not
Right.
saying he doesn't need help, but he's got to set the tone for his whole organization, which means he's got to come in tip-top shape. Remember, Luka was like 15 pounds overweight at the beginning of the season, started off slow and had a couple of bumps and bruises. He needs to come into camp in shape, and he needs to spend money. Luka's getting ready to sign that max extension this summer. He's going to get $200 million. Luka going to have the chance to sign 3 $200 million contracts over his career. And he's got to commit to his body, and he can be a champion. If he doesn't do that, he's just going to be LeBron and early Cavaliers.
Yeah, but be very why are we ignoring the fact that the unicorn was brought to Dallas to be a
He's a
solid
bum.
number 2
Bum.
and to get them over this hump? Where
Bum.
was he in this entire series? And I heard some reports that he played well in the role that you had him in, but this dude was brought here to be a legitimate all-star number 2 to back Luka up, and he did absolutely nothing this entire series.
I agree with you.
Call him Ghost. Call him Ghost.
Kristaps Porzingis thinks he's a number 1, and he's not even a number 2. He can't stay healthy. He also doesn't commit to his body, and he's going on this personality tit for tat with Luka. And he thought he was going to be the star of the team, and Luka was just coming in to be the number 2. And now the things are flip flop.
Laughable, right?
He got an attitude. So I'm not even thinking about. Dallas needs to do a better job building their team around Luka, like Atlanta has done, building their team around Trae Young. But Luka's got to set the whole tone for the whole organization, and he can do that by investing himself. That's just my opinion. Because he could be literally one of the top 3 players in the world if he just committed to his body, in my opinion.
We go to the next round now.
All right, let's go to the next round. We're going to have one game in the Western Conference second round. And Chris Paul, again, he did it again. With 21, 11, and 6, Jokic was held to 22. But DeAndre Ayton had 20 and 10 again. They got that boy balling. He doubling
So do you
against some of the best players.
Do you see them beating the Nuggets?
I think this goes 7. And I think it's a toss-up. But I like the way Phoenix is playing, and I like the leadership on Phoenix. And if Devin Booker gets warm, and God help him if he gets hot, because don't forget, Devin Booker dropped 50 a couple of times in the bubble.
Absolutely.
If he get warm, then Phoenix can end this easy. But I think it's going 7. What y'all think?
So I think it'll go 7. I think Phoenix is going to win the series. But DeAndre Ayton, he is a traditional big man, but he's mobile. He can. So I'm not saying he can. I'm not saying he's better than Joker because he's not. Mm-hmm. But if he can at least present some resistance to, I mean, as far as and move around with Joker, Chris Paul and Chris Paul stays healthy. That's a recipe for winning. I think they can. And without Jamal Murray, I actually believe that Phoenix can win this series and will win this series. I can see that happening.
Yeah, I think Phoenix can definitely win this series. I think the key players to me that come down to it, the health of Chris Paul, whether he's going to continue to be on the floor to be the floor general and pick his points where he just takes over the game. And I think Michael Porter Jr. is also going to be a factor on the other side. And if he can step up his game to where, we think he can go. But I still have it going 7 games like you all do. But I think Chris Paul is that main factor whether Phoenix will get over the top. And I think they will.
Mm-hmm. I think, like you said, Professor J, as long as these individuals stay healthy and they can play the whole entire series, it's going to be worth watching. And it's definitely going to go down to the last second.
Yeah.
So tonight we got the first game of Utah against the Clippers.
That's what we did.
Now the Clippers struggled to get past the team that they wanted in Dallas. And as we said, that Luka don't play any defense. I left that out the last one. But now they're playing a team that's going to play defense. We know Kristaps don't play any defense. So Dallas don't play any defense. No. Utah's the top 10 defensive team in the league. And in a lot of categories, they top 5. And they got ballers all over the place. This is where I think the Clippers go down.
I don't think so.
Utah beats Clippers in 6.
Nah, dog. Nah.
I got you. I'm rolling with Utah.
5.
I'm rolling with Utah.
Okay.
I got Utah at 5, man.
Y'all gonna be real quiet next week. That's all I got to say. Y'all gonna be real quiet.
So you think they couldn't stop Luka, and they had nobody else really helping them. So now you're gonna go against a multi-time defensive player of the year in the Stifle Tower.
That's what your film is for. Do your research and your homework.
Okay. And then you got Spider Mitchell, who's gonna give him 30 and if need be 50.
Playoff Pete better step up. That's all I got to say.
if you think Playoff Pete gonna make that kind of jump, okay. Because Quadis is kept in game 6 and game 7. Paul George was a ghost in the second half.
He was. He really was.
He scored almost all his points in the first half of both of those games. So when you looked at the box score, you said, oh, Paul George had a good game. Paul George had 23 to 26. He had 8 to 10 assists. But look at the box scores and look at the first half and the second half. Paul George, you got to put an APB out on him for the second half.
Yeah, that's him. Pandemic Pete.
Yeah. So we got one Clippers fan. And again, I got the Jazz at 6. They've been the number 1 team in the NBA all year, but nobody gives them respect. Professor, did I hear Jazz in 5?
Yeah, you heard Jazz in 5.
I'm gonna roll with 5. Jazz in 5.
Wow. Okay.
I think the Clippers gave everything that they could to Dallas, and that's it. I think they're gonna be empty. The Claw will try to do it, J3, but he can't do it by himself. Then we just finished having that argument about
So in that case, does Kawhi walk away?
He ain't going nowhere.
Where he going?
Right. Where you going?
His contract is up.
Well, where's he going to go?
Exactly. Where's he going? He wanted to be
He's a mercenary.
He wanted to go.
But where's he going to go? The Wizards?
Hey, Sense. Would y'all take a man sense? Put it in the chat. LA, Lakers.
They tried to get him the first time.
He don't want to play with LeBron. He don't want to play with that man.
He don't want to be a second or third option.
What about him going to Portland?
No, who wants? It rains all the time. Nobody want to go to Portland.
And you get
drafted. You get drafted to Portland. You don't want to. You don't want to go there. That's not a destination.
So y'all think he gonna re-up with the Clippers even after going out twice in the second round?
Absolutely. He ain't going nowhere. Because if that was the case, he'd have stayed in Toronto.
Think about it.
He didn't ask to go to Toronto. He was traded to Toronto.
But think about it. He can't go back. He can't go back to the East because the East is locked. The top 3 positions in the East are locked up. He don't fit on any roster except maybe Milwaukee. He ain't going to Milwaukee. He obviously don't like Doc Rivers, or Doc Rivers would still be in L.A.
Brooklyn.
So he can't go to Brooklyn because they already got 2 or 3 stars on the team, and he just won't fit. Yeah, ain't no balls.
Stop it. He ain't coming to Washington.
So then you go out west. You might as well just stay where you are.
That's what I said.
I can try, right?
All right. So it's gonna be.
He got the New Balance contract. What we wear in the city? New Balance. Come on, Claw. Come on, DC.
But it would be a good move for the Wizards. It'd be great.
It would be awesome.
Yeah, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. All right, let's talk some NFL news. Real quick, some things that happened since the last time we talked NFL. The biggest news, Julio Jones finally got traded from the Atlanta Falcons. He goes to the Tennessee Titans.
So
Falcons only get a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick. Titans get Julio and a 6th-round pick. But if you really look and dig into the numbers, all Julio is doing is replacing Corey Davis, who they lost in free agency.
I don't see
this.
Julio don't stay on the field long enough. He stay hurt.
If Julio is on the Blake Griffin program, which is possible, because it's usually hamstrings that he misses games. So I don't think Julio wanted to put his body on the line for a team that couldn't compete. So if he was on a Blake Griffin program, I think he might play 12 to 14 games this year. And if Julio plays 12 to 14 games, he's going to give you 1,200 to 1,500 yards.
But you got to remember, Atlanta was already a competitive team. They would get in the playoffs. They just wouldn't do nothing when they got there.
And they haven't been competitive in 3 years.
Yeah, they sucked last year.
Atlanta ain't been competitive since they gave up the farm in the Super Bowl. Right. That's why the coach got fired.
But see, sometimes it's good to get out of. Sometimes it's good to
get out of bad situation.
And then he's not playing in that turf no more. He's on grass. I mean, he's going. And the quarterbacks are probably about equal. I mean, Matt Ryan might be slightly better than Tannehill. Tannehill, I think he's a bum. I think he's sorry. But he's going to be playing with Derrick Henry, the best running back in the NFL. He's
going to Alabama boys.
He's going to be playing with what is it, AJ Brown?
AJ Brown.
So that's going to I think it's a good. I think it's actually a great move. I think it's definitely an upgrade. And you say if he stays healthy, he'll at least be as healthy as Corey Davis was throughout his 4 years in Tennessee.
True.
So.
True.
I actually like it. I think it's going to be a good thing, and I think the 2 and a 4 in exchange for Julio and a 6 is fair compensation for a 32-year-old player that's coming off an injury. So a year worth of injury. So I think it's not like the Hopkins debacle as far as a 2. Yeah. So yeah.
And what was nice, your boy AJ offered up his number 11 to Julio, and Julio said, "Nah, that's good. You keep your number. I'm good. New start, new beginning."
Give Tannehill some love. He gave some money back to kind of make some cap.
Oh yeah.
He should have gave the money to Derrick Henry.
I knew you were going to say that.
Why he's giving money away? Why he's giving money away?
There you go. Good team. We're a good team.
He ain't giving any money away. See, that's the thing with quarterbacks. They never give the money away. They do restructure it, and they change around the money. He actually locked himself into Tennessee for the next 3 years doing that. So that was actually a smart move on his part. Because after next year, his guaranteed money was getting shorter, but now it's longer. So
does that put them into second place in the AFC now?
No. That puts them in contention to win their division against the Colts, depending on what Carson Wentz.
Yep.
They'll win it then.
So. the other news before we get into our big story, tackle Lebron James files a $15 million grievance against Denver. He was the gentleman who tore his Achilles tendon while working out. And based on stuff that he's put out, he's saying that he was actually following a program that was developed by the Broncos strength and conditioning staff, who actually told him, don't worry about coming in, keep working out and doing this and following your program. And then not only do they release him, they cut him saying it was a non-football injury, so they didn't have to pay him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But smart move, Baltimore Ravens, smart organization. They picked him up, 2-year deal, up to $9 million. They basically throwing away $500,000. They say, here's $500,000 for this year. Just train and get healthy. And if you can pass the fiscal next year, you can make another $8.5 million. And if so, we'll be willing to sign you for a longer term deal. But
that's solid.
That's deep.
And of course, your boy Aaron Rodgers didn't show. That saga continues. We'll get on to that later. But one thing we will have to talk about in the very near future is the NFL has still not said anything about Deshaun Watson's availability. And based on recent information, he's not going to get deposed in his cases until March of next year.
Right.
So they've got to decide something on what they're going to do with him. But let's talk about the biggest news of the week. The NFL had to actually, again, say they were wrong, say that they were trying to cover up some information, and they officially put an end to a practice which is called race norming. And I know, Professor, you did some research on this, so can you give us some background on what this race norming is and against the concussion protocol and things of that sort?
I sure can. So the race norming is nothing new in sports, but the NFL seems to be taking the cake when it comes to, on one hand, they saying they for racial equality and fairness and all that stuff. But then on the other side, behind the scenes, they're still doing underhanded things that are proving that they are contradicting their own public statements. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the term race norming, you know, it has a long history. And it's both inside and outside of medicine. So it touches in sports, but it's an extension of what we've been doing in medicine for many, many years. And we can go all the way back to the Tuskegee experiment and things of that nature. But the way the NFL is spinning it is that they're using this race norming to make adjustments to their concussion protocol and their baseline cognitive testing that they do for players, especially the ones after they retire. Because if you guys remember the whole concussion case, which the NFL lost to the tune of about $860 million, and you have about 2,100 to it's about 3,000 different cases. About 2,100 of them have been settled to date. So they're taking them case by case. So what they're doing is they're taking these former players and they're putting them through this battery of tests. And after they take the test, they're doing what's called race norming, where they then put a scoring system on black players that actually lowers the baseline. So what they're doing is, just to make it short, because I don't make this complicated, is that they're passing the test. And then when they put the race norming things on it, then it's lowering it to the point where they fail the test, and the NFL is saying that they don't have to pay. What that really means is that if I have a certain standard and the average player, we're not going to talk about skin color just yet, the average player meets that baseline for where they should be for us to pay out to say that they have the early on stages of some type of dementia, then we pay. But if I lower the baseline, the starting line, to say cognitively people of color, your black players already come in with a lower cognitive value or ability, then if they don't meet these lower baseline standards, then we can deny their claims because they were lower cognitively from the beginning. So what that says is, and this is how they defend it, they're saying that not based on race, but based on demographics, right? So we know how they use the term demographics, that they would then say, because of the way that these people cognitively develop, the way they live, all that stuff in a particular area, they must have a different baseline than everybody else. So, of course, it affects us disproportionately, but then people try to lie and say it's not done that way. It's done to help you. We've seen this before. Anybody that's a parent and you have a child that's been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, you've been told that your kids don't meet a certain benchmark. So now your child has to have medications and certain accommodations. Now, I'm not saying that that's all wrong, but when you have a court case of this magnitude, concussions, you got CTE, things of that nature that mean that you're going to have to pay out millions to billions of dollars to make sure people get the help and treatments that they want. Based on your skin color, the NFL is forcing these clinicians to decide who gets the treatment and who gets denied. And disproportionately, guess what? Big news. We're getting denied more so than the Caucasian players. So watching Outside the Lines, we're going to give kudos to Outside the Lines and ESPN in an ABC News article that took a couple of players, Najee Davenport and another player that played for the Steelers. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. I'll give it to you in a second. They made claims that this practice has been going on. And you have some clinicians that are backing them up, right, saying that the NFL has placed pressure on them, threatening them that they don't put these baselines, add these norming standards to it, that they could be jeopardizing their status working with the NFL or even their status in the medical field. So think about that. Who did that happen to? You saw the movie Concussion. You saw they did the same thing to that doctor because he wanted to blow the lid off of the concussion cases in the protocol that the NFL did not have at the time and was denying players left and right after, you know, their retirement of these things that were actually happening. So if it didn't take Junior Seau, Dave Dorson, and a few others from literally blowing their chests out so you can study their brains, we wouldn't even know that all of this was going on. So my question to you all, now that we got this background, because we are going to do more digging on this and report it back to you all. What do you think is the responsibility of one, Colin Kaepernick, Jay-Z, you know, those that are in these boardrooms or have a voice now because of the movement that's been happening that are falling silent on this particular issue? And we got to have investigative reporting in order to force the NFL, force them to come clean about what they're doing. Where are these voices?
Well, this is what I talked about. I kind of briefly mentioned last week as far as we have to be careful who we choose to represent us in matters such as this. Whether or not they even are aware of what's going on behind the scenes as far as this particular topic is concerned, Professor Jay, is really interesting. But before I get into to that question, to put it in perspective, the majority of the NFL retired players are black. There's roughly 20,000 currently living NFL players. Only 2,000 of these, so out of the 2,000 players who've actually qualified, 20% have been compensated. So out of that $800 million pie, only 500 players have qualified to receive compensation. 500. There's 20,000 retired players. 500 people have actually qualified to get anything. 500 people. That blows your mind when you think about it. Just that figure alone blows your mind.
And to your point, the ones that have been diagnosed is still a fraction of that 21,000 that still could be possibly affected by CTE and other ailments that the NFL is trying to squash and trying to bully them away from filing their claims.
So is the $800 million that they set aside for this, is that a public relations number or is that actual money? See, that's another issue. I mean, you could throw something and say, hey man, I'm gonna donate to the United College Fund or whatever, Black College Fund. I'm gonna give you $1 million, but if no one has access to it, it's just a term. You're just saying it. You're just saying it.
Well, we got to remember the NFL is a $1 billion industry,
Multi-billion.
Every single year, right? Every single year. So for them to say that they can't make sure that players are taken care of is a bold-faced lie. And then what they're doing to players of color that look like you and I is just plain criminal.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the two players' wives who really made the stink about this after dealing with their husbands going through all the trauma of taking all these tests and getting denied. The wives, with the help of their doctors, who originally scored them as being qualified for these settlements and then being forced to try to change them, they wouldn't let it go. So without those, we wouldn't hear this. But the NFL plays the long game. Mm-hmm. The $800 million was court ordered, so they had to set that money aside. So that's real money, but they got plenty of money. That's not the issue. But when you get it, and if you get it, they still had complete control over. And that's what they're still in court fighting about. And one judge is saying that the $800 million is not going to be nearly enough for what they should be doing to help these players. So they don't think enough players will continue to fight and continue to pressure to keep things moving on. And the lawyer who was out in front for this $800 million settlement, his law firm has already taken their percentage out of their money. So they're not really concerned as much because they done got their chunk.
They got them fees.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fees that was paid in a separate fund for them. So they got tens of millions of dollars themselves. So they're not really pushing for these players anymore. So until people shout and scream and keep it up, you'll never hear about this anymore. So
then I want to interject this before we close this, because like I said, we're going to get back to you all on this. Do you all think that DeMaurice Smith has been paid hush money to not push this forward?
Wow.
Because he's been crazy silent about this whole thing.
Wow.
Wow. I can't say he's been paid hush money, but he's in bed with the NFL.
Wow.
I don't know if he's playing because if you just look at a lot of things up there, including this most recent 17-game expansion, which is ridiculous, and that goes back to what you were saying about Julio playing, certain 12 games. NFL players aren't going to play 17. There's no star going to play 17 games, but it just goes back to that. The union, they need to take a real hard look at the players do at the representation that they're signing up for, because they're losing every fight along the way as far as labor management is concerned.
But the current players are the ones that voted not to include the former players in a lot of these details.
True.
Even though DeMaurice Smith wanted to include them together, the current players, when they get into these negotiations, that's one of the first things they let go is the retired players. Mm-hmm. That's why the retired players wanted a seat at the table, because they knew the current players weren't looking after them, and they weren't thinking long-term like the NFL is thinking that, hey, you're going to be a retired player in 3 to 5 years.
Right. And I love the fact that Najee Davenport put that in the article. He was like, I'm doing this for y'all. I'm doing it for you because you will be in my shoes one day. So you're going to appreciate the fact that I'm fighting for you today, even though y'all didn't fight for us at the collective bargaining table. So I thought that was very admirable that he mentioned that. So to close this out, I do want to ask you this. Is this a golden opportunity for the Dwayne Rock Johnson, now the owner of the XFL, to kind of stomp in and try to now put a voice to what's going on with the NFL, to try to lure some players to his league of a greater stature and then build that up as competition to the NFL?
No, because I think he has to do the long game, Professor J, because it's very shaky as far as any startup league is concerned, and even if it's not directly competing with the NFL. So there has to be some type of partnership, even if it's like a gray zone. Mm-hmm. Because we all of us here believe that XFL could exist with the NFL, but it has to exist. It has to be like a slow burn. or the NFL will crush it. They'll make sure it doesn't survive. So
Rock has two issues. One, I don't know if y'all heard, the USFL is supposed to be back next year. The USFL announced that they're coming back in 2022.
Oh wow!
And I don't know if y'all seen this spring football league that's popping up. That's on, I think it's Fox Sports 1. That came out of nowhere. I never heard it before. The people that own the spring football league are part of the new ownership group that bought the USFL.
So they're
the timing is interesting, isn't it? Isn't the timing of that interesting? With the XFL coming back, The Rock buying the XFL, and now all of a sudden the USFL is coming back.
Well, they saw that the XFL was actually working. The pandemic just killed it. So they're saying, oh, spring football can work as long as we don't compete directly with the NFL and become a feeder system for them or a development system. So that's the problem now. Rock is in negotiations with the Canadian Football League to probably do some kind of collaboration with them. Because Canadian Football League, remember, they shut down this year and last year because of the pandemic. So they're hurting financially. So maybe he'll be able to work out something to do that. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to force the NFL to do anything anytime soon. Yes. So we definitely got to get back to these protocol things and do maybe a special segment on how the NFL is still, even though they say they're doing one thing in public, how they're really doing things behind closed doors to keep things the same. Real quick on the NHL playoffs, New York Islanders up 3-2 on the Boston Bruins. It's a great series. They keep going back and forth. One thing I will say is the Caps should have kept their coach.
Barry Trotz. You took the words right out of my mouth. Barry Trotz.
He is obviously doing good things with the Islanders organization. And I think they're going to get the Bruins, but it's still a toss-up. Game 6 is tomorrow night, and if necessary, Game 7 is Friday. The defending NHL champion, Tampa Bay Lightning, need number 1 seed, Carolina Hurricanes 3-1, and that's over. I don't see Carolina beating Tampa Bay 3 games in a row under any circumstances unless their goalie gets injured and can't play anymore, because the goalie's playing well. And Tampa Bay has brought in 2 players who haven't played all season, and now they're in the playoffs scoring goals and controlling things. So Tampa Bay keeps their winning ways. Hey, Ed.
That Colorado-Vegas series.
That Colorado-Vegas series is
I know,
a monster, man.
But, yeah, because the Penguins goalie that should still be in Pittsburgh is in Vegas. But the only time they lose is when he don't play. But yeah, so I picked Colorado because I didn't think Vegas had it, but hey, it's tied up. It's a great series so far.
That's 7. That's got 7 painted all over it.
I didn't see that. I didn't.
And you got the winner of this series winning it all, right, Ed?
Yeah, I thought Colorado was going to win, but
me too. I thought it was going to be Vegas, but I said the winner is going to take it all. And up north, 2 things happened.
Montreal.
The Montreal Canadiens kicked some butt.
Did they?
They took Winnipeg out to the woodshed. 4-0, let's get this over with. And then they got great news. The Canadian government is going to allow them to play home games for the semifinals and the Stanley Cup finals. Now, they're going to have to go through, these teams traveling to Canada will have to go through some extreme measures.
Yeah, they're going to put them in bubble.
But they will not have to quarantine. But they're going to test before, test when they arrive. They got to stay in a bubble. They ain't going to be able to travel except for to the arena and back. Yep. But at least the Canadian fans will actually be able to keep their team home and actually see some playoff hockey. So they'll get the win of that Colorado Avalanche Vegas game. So that should be great. And did y'all see the crowd in Vegas?
It's amazing.
It's sold out arena. They are absolutely going crazy. I mean, it looks amazing. and it's awesome, but ain't no way in hell I would be in one of those arenas with 15,000 people screaming and yelling. Yeah.
With no mask on.
Yeah.
Nope. Not I.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of quick things to caught our attention. We got to say congrats to Simone Biles. Winning her 7th U.S.
Greatest of all time.
Championship.
Record.
Absolutely.
The GOAT. She even has a little goat on her leotards now when she's performing.
And she deserves it.
She's and she got another move on the floor exercise named after her. So she's got 2 on the vault. She's got 1 on the balance beam, and she's got 2 on floor exercise that are all named Biles.
And look, and this is despite the judges trying to show shade recently on one of her moves that nobody in the world can ever do.
Yep.
Yeah, she's doing stuff on the vault that men do.
Right.
And better. We got to point out Hall of Famer Coach Mike Krzyzewski announced in 2021-2022
Coach K
will be his last season. Remember when we saw the North Carolina coach Roy Williams retire, and I said he's going to be the first of many that follow. These coaches, these old school coaches, know that come next month, the name, image, and likeness, which we're going to get into more once these playoffs get into, all that stuff's supposed to start hitting in July. And the NCAA says they want some kind of ruling together by July before these states start enacting their own rules, and it gets out of control because this state will allow somebody to come in and make their money, but the neighboring state won't. Well, guess what's going to happen to that school in that neighboring state that doesn't? I can go have a agent and possibly make 6 figures advertising in this state, but I can't here. So it's coming, and these old coaches don't want anything to do. So I think this is going to be, you're going to be seeing more and more.
Izzo.
And Izzo got problems. If anybody been paying attention to Michigan State in the last 4 or 5 years, you've had the sexual assault allegations. You just had a player, a former player arrested for murder this past weekend.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, so look for more of that to happen.
How's Boeheim still in Miss Syracuse? He got to be 80.
Boeheim's other son transferred into Syracuse this year. I think he's going to let his 2 sons graduate from Syracuse, and I think Boeheim walks off with them.
But I think Boeheim got like little kids. I think he had a second set.
I think so too.
Yeah,
it's possible, but I think he's going to let his 2 sons that are currently in college then walk off because he's been having problems recruiting for the last couple of years anyway.
Since the Big East ain't been nothing.
So
ain't been worth.
For you tennis fans, the French Open is in its final week. Shout out, we got to give Coco Gauff some praise. She made her first Grand Slam quarterfinal. She plays tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. So any of you early risers like myself, if you want to catch some tennis in the morning, Coco will be playing early in the morning. And then later in the day, we got the King of Clay, Rafael Nadal, playing, and also Novak Djokovic. If they both win, we'll get a great semifinal. Want to give some praise to Clarissa Shiels. She makes her MMA debut this Thursday, June 10th, 10 p.m. on ESPN with the Professional Fighting League. This is a young lady who's taking control of her career. We already know she's the baddest female boxer on the planet, and now she's going, to make more money and put herself out there. She's been serious. She's been training for MMA for over a year and a half, and she makes her debut. And then Saturday, UFC 263. Our man Israel Adesanya is back in his weight class, middleweight, defending his championship against Marvin Vettori. And then in the co-main event, which is also a championship fight, a rematch, Davidson Figueroa against Brandon Moreno for the flyweight title, and the return of crazy man Nate Diaz. So, man, y'all know I'm a UFC fan. So, MMA, big weekend. Shakur Stevenson's fighting on Saturday as well. He's going to be on ESPN. He moved up to junior lightweight, 130 pounds. He's going for a vacant interim title. Get ready for some big things. Professor, it's time for my favorite part of the show. It's time for your takes. You ready, partner?
I'm
or
ready.
You need a couple of moments. All right, let's hit it.
Let's get down. All right, everybody. This week we gonna end on a fun note. I got fun facts about dominant sports in athletics. All right, so number one, since if you're still on, check the mic. I think he's still on. We're gonna give LeBron some love. All right, NBA superstar LeBron James. You hear that, Sense? We're giving him some love. Has a deep passion for football. He played 2 seasons of football in his high school and earned recognition as an all-state wide receiver. Notre Dame recruited him as a wide receiver. I bet y'all didn't know that. As a junior, he led the team to the state semifinals, finishing the season with 16 touchdown receptions. He made 57 receptions for, check this, 1,670 yards that season. James switched to basketball his senior year. It wasn't because he preferred the game over over football. It was because he broke his wrist that prevented him from playing football that season. LeBron James is actually right-handed, but on the basketball court, right-handed on the basketball court, but he uses his left hand almost everywhere else in life, and he's far from alone. All right. Number 2, Jamaican Olympian Usain Bolt is probably the greatest sprinter the world has ever seen. He is known for his record in 100 meters and 200-meter races. He is the only runner to have won Olympic gold 3 times in a row in 2008, 2012, and 2016. He has held the world championship 11 times. Of the 30th fastest 100-meter sprints in history, only 9 did not involve doping. Usain Bolt ran all 9 of those. Number 3.
Strong.
Due to so many of their players serving in the military during World War II, the Eagles and Steelers, you'll like this, Ed, combined in 1943 to form one team called the Steagles. Did you know that, Ed? Did you know that? Okay. And the next year, the Steelers joined the Chicago Cardinals for the same reason. In 1912 Olympic Games were the last to include gold medals actually made of solid gold. Now, I didn't know that. Currently, the gold medals are 93% silver and 6% copper, leaving about 1% or 6 grams for the highly prized gold finish. Wow. Now, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not really a gold medal if you talk about composition, but the finish it is plated in gold. All right. So number 5, in order to take the slick factory sheen off and allow pitchers to get a better grip, Major League Baseball wipes down each baseball with mud from an undisclosed location of the Delaware River. And it's been done this way for close to 75 years now. Wow. Number 6, NFL refs also get Super Bowl rings. They're not as large and impressive as the rings received by the players, but all referees who officiate the Super Bowl get a serious piece of bling to commemorate that day.
I knew that.
The Serena Slam is a tennis term used when a tennis player wins all 4 of the big tournaments in a row, holding the official champion title to all 4 majors: Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open. The term first came about after 2015 when Serena dominated the tournaments in a row after winning the US Open. Though she wasn't the first female tennis player to accomplish this feat, she was the only one player or only one popular enough to have it coined after her. So those are some beautiful facts that you didn't know about sports and your players. So carry on, as Kendrick Perkins would say. Back to you, baby.
I know you're a big Perk fan, but
hey, when he won with Boston, I was with him.
I hear you. He's going more Stephen A these days. We leave that for another.
You hear that sense? I know you don't
That's
like
how you get employed.
Right. Yep, that's it.
That's sad. All right, fellas, it's time for our final post for us to get up out of here. Ed, why don't you go ahead and lead us off, my brother?
As always, the last year and a half, stay safe, everybody. I'm tuning into these NBA, getting these NBA streets. with an eye towards Vegas as far as the ice is concerned. But again, just everybody stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Professor, you're up next.
Yes, sir. So, everybody, I just want to remind you, excuse me, that we live in a world that's known as the human race. Humanity comprises the entire world. So if you haven't caught anything about this show, we give love to everybody. So with that statement, I do want to give love to Yuka Saso. She won the U.S. Women's Open, the first woman or player from the Philippines to win a golf major. So we definitely got to give love for that. And then to top it off, they had a 3-round playoff in which she won. She beat out Japan's Nasa Hatoakoa. So that gives even more credence to the fact that we got to give love from players around the world that are doing big things. So we got to remember that we don't live in isolation, and people of all nationalities, backgrounds, and races are doing wonderful things. And you will hear about those people on this show. God bless.
And Professor,
yeah,
you left out one point. She's 19 years old.
Yes, and she's 19 years old.
She tied the record for the youngest woman to win a major. So,
amen. That's right.
Absolutely. J3, you up?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out and looking forward to all the young individuals that are graduating again. We still have a lot more kids that are striving to get to that point, and we shouldn't take it for granted. So praise every individual that you know that's in your family, that's next to you, that's around you, that's walking across that stage, because we know how important it is to earn that degree.
Absolutely. Degree, high school diploma, all that's big stuff. Absolutely. I'd like to finish my final post by, again, shouting out Naomi Osaka. We talked about her last week and really got to the fact that basically the Grand Slams pressured her into a point where she thought it was better for her to withdraw from the French Open because they wouldn't allow her to not deal with the press. If you've been following the story since we talked about it, you've seen that we're going to talk boxing next week. And you've seen that we are going to, that the Grand Slam softened their position. Nike came hard in support of Naomi Osaka. Almost all of the tennis players came hard off for Naomi Osaka. Spent some great comments. What Venus Williams told a reporter that asked an idiotic question was fabulous. But Naomi Osaka has decided she's not going to pay next week's Wimbledon warm-up as well. And I think this might bring us to a situation where we may have a situation where I'm not sure if she's going to play Wimbledon. And it'd be a damn shame if, because of their strong arming and not willing to deal and realize that mental health is just as important, if not more important than physical health, that they might end up forcing the number 2 female player in the world, the highest earning female player in the world, to miss one of the biggest events because they want to keep things the way it always used to be.
It's not surprising.
Yeah. So, and again, a shout out to my man Ant, I forget his handle, but we got some great boxing coming up. Not this weekend, but starting next weekend, we got multiple weekends where you're gonna have 2 or 3 big fights coming up, leading all through July and August. So we're gonna be talking about boxing, and get yourself ready because we're gonna have to do another boxing show probably in July, special show. So we got to get ready for the heavyweight title fight. Not be a perfect thing to talk about the first part of the year, and let's look up the rest of the year. All right, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening. Again, we appreciate your time and the opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. We're here each and every Tuesday, 7 p.m. We do it live each week. It may be 4 of us, maybe 5 of us, maybe 2 of us, but we're going to be here. Somebody will be here from Position on Sports to make sure we get our live show. If you can't catch the live show, you can also download our show on our YouTube channel, Positions on Sports Talk Show, our Facebook page at Positions on Sports. You can hit us up on Twitter, Positions on SPO1. And if you decide, you know what, I'm just not into that, but I do podcasting, hey, just put in Positions on Sports at your favorite podcast platform, and you can catch our previous shows. That's Apple, wherever you like to do your podcast, and we're there. So we look forward to speaking to you again next week. Please stay safe. Remember that we are still in a pandemic, even though people are moving around, because we want to hear from you next week, and we want you to listen to us. Again, from all the people at Positions on Sports, please stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week. Peace.
See ya.
Yes.